also heard we interact on our podcast that we're just really fun to listen to. Thanks, guys. We're so funny.
I mean, we think we're fun, so we appreciate that you think we're fun.
Yes.
Please just hold your breath. Every door looks better when you keep it closed. Keep your head down and don't watch your step. No point in even trying now, just let it go. Maybe they will write the same for me. Maybe this was really just a dream. Don't wanna take that risk and try to see a 9 to 5 open security. I'm sure, but I can guarantee you that's no way to live. Way to live. Promise that's no way to live. Way to live.
Welcome back to another episode of Prodigal Peas in a Pod. I'm Brooke Ackerman.
And I'm Denise Acosta.
Still.
Oh
my goodness. You guys, this is episode number 14.
14.
We've done 13 episodes. Is anybody else surprised by that? It feels like
I'm incredibly surprised.
Right, I know.
I'm incredibly surprised. I had no idea how long we were going to be doing this. I didn't know what it was. There was so much unknown. It was like stepping into that first episode was like, it was definitely a true trying to walk on water moment, and you don't know if you're going to sink or if you're going to keep walking. And I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know how it would unravel, and I have loved it.
Me too. I honestly thought, I wonder if anybody's going to listen.
Oh, for sure.
Because we joked that we were going to do this no matter what, because we'd have fun and who cares. But you don't do a podcast if you don't want someone to listen. Of course, we wanted people to listen, but I really had no idea if people were going to care at all about anything we had to say.
Yeah, I usually have to psych myself in a way that's like, it doesn't matter if nobody listens. Keep doing something and get that out of your head, because I will very much let that get in, and then I'm like, oh, then no, then never mind. And no, I was definitely like, I don't know if people are going to listen. And now the church is letting us use the space. And like, is that all right? What if nobody ever listens? And then they're like, who are we even letting the space out to? These nobodies. And it's like, what's going to happen?
We are not nobodies. We are somebodies.
Yeah. And I listen to our podcast.
Me too.
Yes. And every time I listen to it, it's like I wasn't part of it. It's all new information that I'm hearing myself say or what Brooke is saying. And I'm like, wow, yeah, that's great. That's great. And it's good times.
If you haven't figured it out by now, this episode is all about us looking back. And I think it's interesting that we, I don't know what episode number, I don't remember now. I could look it up. We talked about Sabbath and how part of Sabbath is pausing and taking time to look back at what has been done, at what has been accomplished. And not that this is super focused on Sabbath, but looking back and commemorating and just taking a moment to recognize the things that have been done is valuable. And so that's what this episode is us just sort of taking a minute to go, wow, we did this.
Yeah. We actually went forward with this podcast idea. You'll go through life and, oh, we should do this and we should do that. But we did it. And we didn't just have one episode, and we didn't just have two. We're recording episode 14. Mm-hmm. And there's so much more that we're going to be doing that's already in the works and stuff. So it's just cool. It's just cool. You look back on, or I think back at least, when I first recorded versus today, for example, and how I felt. And looking back on all of that, and I listened to old episodes too. I was listening to an older one today, and it was when I was doing my intro video for Misfit, mm-hmm. and how nervous I was, and even for the first episode. And I've heard from you guys that I don't look nervous or freaked out, but I very much was. Oh my gosh, sure, I can plan about what I want to talk about, and I can make notes, and then I'm in front of this camera, and then. At least for the first episode, I was like, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I'm not clear and someone interprets it the wrong way? I had so many things in my head. I was afraid. Mm. And now I'm like, let's roll. I'm like, let's do this. How did you feel with episode 1?
I mean, I don't know if I would say I was nervous. It was more that I really wanted it to I wanted to make sure that we were putting out a quality product. And so I wanted to make sure that we sounded good, that we looked good. And oh my goodness, we'll get into sound and video issues a little later in the episode. But I wouldn't say I felt nervous in our first episode, but I think what helped that was I've had opportunities to do things like this. There have been a couple of times that I've been on the CFC Faith Forward podcast. That's the podcast that our church does. John and two of his friends. Hi, John. Hi, Mike and Tom.
I don't know you guys, but hi.
They did a podcast, and every once in a while they would have the wives on too. So this wasn't the first time I was doing this sort of thing, but it's different.
I was the rookie, you guys. She was the veteran.
But it's different that this was ours. I wasn't the guest to somebody else's thing. This was what we were doing, and this was our creative endeavor. And so that had a different feel to it. But being on camera and knowing that I'm being recorded, that didn't make me nervous, but I still wanted to make sure that we were doing a good job.
I have, or for a good part of my life, a lot less now, have heard all the criticism, potential comments, and not necessarily that they were actually made, but I worried about them in my head. And I don't remember which episode it was, but you were saying how oftentimes people are not as critical of us as we think they are, or as we are with ourselves. Mm-hmm. And that's so true, right? Because I'm like, oh man, people are going to see us. Oh, she's trying to do something and she sucks at it or whatever. It's not great. And she's just starting, just like things that are kind of just like putting it down. And so you have that desire where you want to be presenting something, like you said, quality and complete, really, not just partially and not just only a little bit of intention. So I know that was definitely, those were all the things that were going on in my head at the time towards the beginning. And I love the idea of it. Yeah. And if I didn't have to worry about what anybody else was going to say or comment about it, then I probably would have been just more free to be me. And that's more of the space that I am in now versus then. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, start it.
Well, yeah, and there's always, no, I shouldn't say there's always. Often I have the thought that comes in is, are people going to think, who do you think you are, that you're trying to, because we're not dispensing advice by any means. It's just more like, why do you think you have something to offer? And for a long time, I did believe that about myself. Like, who do you think you are? And I think there was a past episode where I talked about Polly Hamp, who was a guest, and she took that exact wording, that question, who do you think you are? And she changed it slightly and said, well, who do you think you are? And that flipped everything. And that helped a ton because people are going to think whatever they're going to think, no matter what. And if I'm constantly trying to change me based on what other people think, it's going to be exhausting. I'm never going to please anyone. And if that's the goal, that's a whole other conversation. And so I'm really glad that before I started doing this podcast, I definitely had some experience and some healing with being comfortable with who I am because of who God says that I am. And it's not so much about what are other people going to think. And I'm more secure in, if this is what God is asking me to do, then there is value in it. And there's always going to be somebody who thinks it's great. And there's always going to be somebody who thinks, well, I'm not listening to that because there's nothing there for me. Right. And that's okay, because that's not the point of doing this. Even though, of course, again, you want people to listen.
Yeah. But, you find, maybe you don't find your target audience, but you do have a demographic that our way of doing things is going to reach. Just like your way of doing things, you're going to reach a certain demographic. We've talked about a few things on this podcast, and I like the theme of a lot of what we've done so far. We've definitely hit a lot on our calling and how we're feeling, and a lot of that's rooted in identity, which all of us have struggled with at some point, if not still currently. And it's good to kind of check ourselves. So I really appreciate when I get to go back and listen to the episodes for things like, yes, these are things that we practice that we're talking about. It's not that we don't know this. We've said it because these are things that we have learned. But it's funny that when I listen to the podcast later, it really is as if I'm like, I didn't know what I was going to say next. Oh, wow, that was good, Denise. Right? As if I didn't actually record this episode myself. And so I'll be out walking usually when I'm listening. So I'm one of those people that has to be doing something while listening to a podcast. I can't just sit and stare at it. So I'm usually walking and then listening. And so I'm walking down the road, and there'll be times that, you know, because we're cackling, I'm over here like Mr. Krabs on the side of the road, like I'm laughing over some dumb thing that we're talking about, as if I didn't know what was coming next. And it's been super special. And being able to get to hear our conversation as a finished product while I don't have other distractions has also just helped me. I'm like, oh, that was really good. Okay, cool. Because I still need those reminders about things. You know, the things that we talk about here, we don't just learn it and you never have to deal with that again, right? And so the reminders are necessary. Sometimes, you know, we forget about that, and it's like, oh, you know, you're hearing it at the right time and it made sense for what you're going through, and it's super helpful. So yeah, I've really liked the different things. I know that we've talked about prayer, what it means to us, because that can be different for everyone. What else have we talked about? Relationship with God, what ours looks like and what it could look like for you if you don't have one yet. I've heard from someone before from listening to the episodes that that's a foreign concept to them. That's new, you know? And so we're here talking about it, and they can't really relate. So we did eventually come out with an episode where we talk about that a little bit more. I really like where our podcast has been going. You know, I like the different topics that we get into. I like that what we share is authentic to our lives, and that we can grow and learn from our own podcast.
Yeah, because we definitely are still works in progress for sure. And I do the same thing when I listen, because I mean, I'm editing them, and so I'm listening a lot, but then I listen when we release it, like I've not ever heard it before or something.
Yeah.
And I find myself laughing at things as if I don't know the jokes, as if I don't know the funny thing that one of us is saying. And then we cackle on the podcast, and then I'm cackling wherever I am listening to it along with us. It's just, I think it's really funny. I don't know if it's that I have a bad memory, and so then it's just entertaining, or maybe it's not bad memory. Maybe it's just I'm not holding all of this in my brain all of the time, and so then it's more entertaining the next time I hear it. But there have definitely been times where one of us will say something and I'll go, ooh, that was really smart, or that was really good. Again, as if we weren't sitting here recording it. I feel like we're just tooting our own horns. Toot toot.
I mean, for me, I definitely do forget some things, right? Some things just go in one ear and right out the other. And so when I do go back and listen to old episodes, I'm like, oh yeah, like, oh, that was so, new information. It's a good time.
See, we really are just doing this for ourselves.
Yeah. I've also heard we interact on our podcast that we're just really fun to listen to. Thanks, guys. We're so funny.
I mean, we think we're fun, so we appreciate that you think we're fun.
Yes. Okay, so we talked about doing a podcast. We did planning. The planning was fun, you guys. We had good planning sessions. But to finally get it rolling and recorded, and to put the first one out, to actually release it, I was going to ask how it felt for us both to actually publish it. And I want to say this. I was so relieved that it was Brooke that had to go ahead and upload it and send it out, because it took off so much of all that extra negative talk that would be in my head. And because this way, well, that's all right. It's just something I was tagged in. And then it's cool. It's fine. So I felt like there was no pressure for me. And all right, we can do this. What was it you, ma'am? What was it like for you when you published?
Oh, it was scary for sure. Again, I think we did a good job. I thought we made sure it was quality stuff that we were putting out there. But the vulnerability of not just having a conversation, but allowing other people to listen to it, I mean, if anybody watches it instead of just listening, like they're seeing whatever we look like that day. And it feels like there's room for a lot of criticism in all kinds of areas. And isn't that interesting that that's where my brain went first, was that there's going to be critique. There's going to be criticism. It's not going to immediately be well received. And does that not just give you a glimpse into the wounding that has occurred in my life? It's just so frustrating that that's the first thought. And then I talked to God about it, and he was not at all surprising, very kind, and said, I've asked you to do this. We're doing this together. It's not just you and Denise. It's we are doing this. And so if you're doing what I'm asking you to do, then it's going to be good. And that doesn't mean everyone will like it. But if God says that something is good, there's a deeper level to it than likes, subscribe, those kinds of things. And that brought a level of peace that I couldn't have done for myself.
One of the things that I guess I sort of expected to hear, I thought I was going to hear, was because people want to be nice about your stuff. They don't want to tell you that it's bad. The people that like you, at least, right? And so I was preparing myself to hear a ton of, oh, it's a good start. It's a good start and it'll get better and just keep at it. And I love your little podcast that you're doing, right? It's like when you tell a small business owner, how's your small business? Don't ever say that, you guys. Just ask them how business is going. But anyway, I'm mentally preparing for this. And I'm even telling myself that, right? Because if you're around me enough, you'll hear me say, you can't get better at something until you start. So it doesn't really so much matter what comes out right away because we're going to still keep doing it, right? And we're going to get better with things as we go and time goes. And so here we are, episode 14. And I go back and I listen to stuff and no, but it was good. It wasn't, oh, it'll get better. Just hang on. Give us another 15 episodes and I swear it'll be a masterpiece. No, it was good. And why was it good? So we pray before every episode and we invite God into this conversation, into the process of what we're doing. And that is 100% why all of this has been the way it has been. This isn't just our own agenda that we're pushing here. We are fully relying on God to guide us in our conversations and how everything else is going. And yeah, it removes the pressure or all the loudness at least in my head, of just all the possible negative talk or criticism that would come from it.
And what I find really interesting about inviting God into the process and giving this back to him is that because God has asked us to do this, that it's also opposed. Anytime you're doing kingdom work, there's going to be opposition to it. And while we have not necessarily had significant spiritual warfare going on or anything, there have been 3 episodes where the audio did not record. And we had people help us try to tweak it to make it sound better. I had to do the editing program I use is amazing. It's called Descript. If you have any video or audio editing needs, I highly recommend you look into it. But that program, it was helpful to edit the sound, but it was so frustrating because it wasn't episode 1 or 2. We had several under our belts, and then all of these issues start happening, and it was so frustrating. And this was particularly frustrating for me because I'm the one who's doing the editing, and so that voice starts, well, see, I told you this wasn't going to be good. I told you shouldn't have tried doing this. And I don't like the feeling of being new at something.
Yeah.
I want to just feel good. I've got things under my belt. I've got it taken care of. And so to have the learning curve of how to edit this and how to edit it well and make it look like a quality product, I enjoyed playing and figuring things out when everything went well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But when it wasn't going well, it got to be super frustrating at times. And I don't like that feeling of, I don't know how to do this. It makes me feel like I'm stupid, which is ridiculous because I was learning. And there are going to be mistakes while you're learning something. And that I would tell my students when I was a teacher, that's part of the learning process. And I know that. But when I'm experiencing it, I really don't like it. Mm-hmm. And so some of those things were real frustrating. And I'm really glad that you were amazing about it, by the way, because it was frustrating to me because it's not just me. I feel like, well, now I'm letting somebody else down. And your responses to me when I was texting you, like, I can't believe the audio didn't, the video didn't. And you're like, it's okay. We'll figure it out. Because again, I'm expecting criticism or somebody to be upset or something negative. And so thank you, because your responses to me were lovely.
Aw. I remember when we first started having, I think it was when the boys were on the episode. Mm-hmm. And I think we didn't notice that the mic card wasn't on until halfway through or something. And that was really sad because, oh my gosh, the conversations that we had there were so, so good. And so I remember you were freaking out about it. And the first thing I thought of is, no, this is the opposition. He's going to try to tell us, well, we already messed it up, so maybe don't air this one. And it was such good stuff that the guys had to say. And I was like, no, it doesn't matter. We're going to air it. However that sounds, that's how we need to do it. And okay, we didn't have the audio for that, but whatever. This is what we're doing. This is what we're called to do. And we're going to keep going. And we'll, I guess, look for it out in the future next time. Well, we looked out for it in the future next time, and we still ended up having some other issues. And so not always are you going to be able to know everything ahead of time. Some stuff you learn through experience, but I do very much think about that, about the opposition and how easy it would be for us to quickly get discouraged and be like, you know what, well, then never mind. We can't put out that many episodes with bad audio. People are going to stop listening to us or something. It's so easy to get caught up in that. And then we would just stop doing it? No. No. A calling is a calling. And so not everything is going to be sunshine and rainbows as you go through it. But I think being able to identify that opposition is helpful and just praying through it. Mm-hmm. And so we are sorry for some of those episodes where the audio was a little questionable and distracting. I know some of you had reached out to me to let me know. I did know. I love you for letting me know, though, or at least attempting to let me know. We knew. But you know what? Sometimes that happens, and we are just going to make the best of what we can and get through it as we can. And I think we're off to a great start. Is there any episode you can think of that was maybe the most surprising after we recorded it?
So surprising in two different directions on two different episodes. So the one that we did with Mike Haynes, who Hi,
Mike. Thanks for being on the show.
I mean, he and I worked together for 5 years. We've continued to be friends. I have so much fun when I'm with him. And so I guess I could say it wasn't surprising that the episode with him went the way that it did, because it feels like how it was when he and I were just hanging out or doing student ministry together. We laugh and we do bits and it's fun, but at the same time, we have serious conversations. And he's the only person I know, and I've told him this, he's the only person I know that we will do a bit, but we're actually having a deep conversation with each other, but it's like somehow we're a comedy duo. And so in that sense, it was surprising that it felt so easy. It was like we just went right back into the stream of working together. I don't feel like any of these episodes are work necessarily, but when you have a guest, it's different, but it didn't feel like anything had changed. Yeah. And he and I have not worked together for quite some time now. So I guess surprising, but not surprising that it was just
like a nice confirmation.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the episode that we did with Polly, as I was editing, I found myself getting choked up and getting teary listening. And I know her story, and I know her pretty well. I don't know her extremely well, but she and I know each other pretty well. And even though I know the details of her story, to hear somebody tell their story, to share the details, and not just the difficult things, but the growth and the transformation and what God has done. And when and this applies to both Mike and Polly, when you get to see how the individual realizes, this is what God brought me through, this is who God says I am, and they are walking that out, it's amazing to see. And that I get to not just see that as guests on our podcast, but that these are people who are friends of mine, that these people are in my life.
Yeah, they're not just strangers. They're in your corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think those two episodes, there were surprising moments for various reasons. How about you?
So mine goes back to all this like negative stuff that will go into my head about things. And I don't recall what so much the content was on that particular episode, but I remember going home after recording and thinking, man, was that clear? Did we even make sense? It just felt, I don't know if complete maybe is the word, didn't feel complete or maybe structured well. And not that obviously these episodes are not rigid, right? You guys have listened enough times to know that. but to where it would have a solid point that we're trying to talk about. And I just felt really disconnected about it. And I felt bad. So then I was wrestling with the whole, is it just me? Am I getting in my head, or was it really just fine? And I'm like, well, if it wasn't good, Brooke would have mentioned something anyway. Maybe we would have re-recorded it if it, for whatever reason, it was super bad. And I remember praying about it, and we recorded it. So it's all in God's hands, and we'll see what comes out of it. And I remember listening to it. And okay, so part of it is editing is great, guys, but also part of it, but also the big part of it is like, no, it was a complete episode, and it was really good. It was very raw and authentic, and it became one of my favorite episodes that we had out. And because it was like a little redemption for me. I remember when I was done listening to it, and I stopped my walk, and I was, wow, thanks God, because I was really in my head about that. So for me, that would be one of the surprising ones. Also, I think having the guests, because we had talked about wanting guests. We didn't know when we were going to start doing that, or what kind of things we're looking for in a guest that would be on. And so we're just, all right, whatever. And so we started. And I love hearing people's stories. I love knowing that about them. I love knowing what is the background and why people think the way that they do, and why they choose to live the way that they do. And so getting those I think that was really fun for me. And just kind of surprising in that the value that I feel those episodes had was more than anything I was expecting. I mean, at the very least, we're going to have a great time and check out these people that are really awesome that you should know about. But it was a lot more than that. And so I would say for sure that would be it for me.
Yeah. It was so fun to have Nathan and Daryl on because, and I said it in that episode, that I watched them grow up, and I get to continue to see the way that God is working in their lives. But it also, having all of the guests on made me realize they were all connected to me, and not that they're not connected to you, but I've known them all.
We're connected now, you guys.
I've known them all for quite some time, and it made me realize I've got some really quality people in my life. God has had my path cross with some really fabulous people, and that's just a tiny portion of the people who are in my life. And so it was kind of fun to realize, wow, look at these people that I know. It was fun.
It is fun. And I'm glad to be part of that network now, that connection. But it gets me really excited about who else to bring on the show, who else people can learn from and that they should know about. We're going to have a lot more guests for you guys, so stay tuned. But okay, so listening back to our episodes, how did you feel about that? Did you ever feel like cringe or like weird, or were you just like, we're so funny? Was it always like so great, or is it reflective?
I often say, and I have no problem saying that I'm genuinely one of the funniest people I know.
I think that about me.
Yeah, I think that about you too. Yay. So it just works. But it's not the episodes that we've released. Listen, editing is magical. There's so much editing that I do, and it's been a fun process to learn. But then there are the times where you don't necessarily realize your own verbal crutch that you have, and I have several, and so does Denise. And she and I have talked about this. I'm not throwing her under the bus. This is not the first time she and I have discussed this.
That's correct.
But oh my goodness! Thankfully, again, the program that I use, I can just tell it to find things, and it will find them, and it will delete them for me. But here's the thing. We have so many, and we say them so much, that even when I tell the program to find it and delete it for me, it doesn't catch all of them. And I still have to manually edit some of those out, because there are times in our conversations that those words, it's almost as if you can't follow the meaning of what we're really getting at, because we have so many of those in there. And so that was really interesting to discover about both of us, that we have a lot of those.
What I call it filler words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
you know, right?
Yes.
What about you?
I think for sure I was expecting, right, there it is. I think for sure I was expecting to cringe when I talked about doing that video for Misfit, which is funny because I haven't done one since. Maybe this will be my cue to do another one. But I remember cringing every time I was listening to whatever recording to erase it to do it again. And so I was expecting the same for this, that I was going to, as I'm listening through. But no, I never did. I never felt cringe. I loved it. Like I said, I'm on the side of the street cackling like Mr. Krabs. And people must think I'm crazy, right? Because I'm not just walking and I'm, no, I'm, right? I mean, I'm physically moving as I'm walking. You can see me. If you're driving from a car, you'll see that something's happening over there, and that strange lady is just having a great time. But no, I love that I don't feel cringe. Like, and I know that's because of the approach that we've taken with this. I know that when I have been in front of a camera for other things, it has never been, oh, hey, God, come into this space with me. And, you know, it was never any of that. And so I'm looking back on all that stuff, and I was very cringy when I'm looking back at like other things from before. But this is not something that I feel that way with. And I've loved listening to each episode. And I love when you guys text us messages about it, about different things. Like, there are people that are listening to this that I didn't even know would be listening to it. You guys, if you know someone who's doing something new and you are enjoying it, tell them. Yeah, tell them, you guys. Don't keep that to yourself. I had someone reach out to me, and I'm going to read the text. And awesome girl, I used to work with her networking, and you're probably listening to this, so you'll recognize it when I say it. And she's awesome. There's nothing bad I would ever say about her. We just don't get to hang out often. Lives are just busy, and I was doing my cupcakes. And so anyway, a few episodes in, and she sends me this text on Facebook, and it says, "Hi, I just wanted to send you a message and been following your podcast. I think what you're doing is amazing, and I wanted to let you know." And oh my gosh, you guys, the tears, right? That was so impactful for me. It was so meaningful. We're doing this scary thing here. I mean, maybe you guys are like, it's just a podcast. There's nothing scary about it. Okay, it was very scary for me.
Very vulnerable.
Yeah. You know, we're talking about stuff here and how we're navigating life in certain ways and what our relationship with God looks like through that. And so to just have someone reach out and telling you that they see you and that they're enjoying it and encouraging you for it, wow, that meant the world to me. It meant so much to me.
Yeah, that's another thing I think I've realized through this is just, I feel like there's been a lot of growth for me just in realizing I really do have something to offer. People do value what I say. And again, that can't be the only reason that you do it. And not everyone is going to think that. But when people do comment or they send a text or whatever, it's really very affirming. And again, even though we know God is asking us to do this, it's still really nice to know that what you're doing has an effect and that other people find it valuable. That's one of the reasons why I love hearing other people's stories. And when people want to know my story is because our stories aren't just about us. When our story has an effect on someone else because they feel like they're not alone or they're not the only one, or something about how you've navigated something is helpful to them, or how they've navigated something is helpful for you. And I feel like we just get to do that all the time on this podcast.
Yeah.
And so to know that the things that have been difficult and good in my life aren't just for me or aren't just about me, that's a really cool experience to have.
The affirmations are super helpful, you guys. And I don't mean that for all of you to message us today about this stuff. I mean this for your friends that are doing stuff.
Yeah, the people in your lives.
Yeah. We mentioned earlier, when God's calling you to something, it is your calling, but there will be opposition. And that opposition can look very different to all of us. And just because we're not out here posting every negative thought that comes into our head about stuff doesn't mean we're not still wrestling with some things too. And so, especially when you're doing something new, it's very vulnerable. So if you got something kind and encouraging to say to someone, just say it to them. It could be the one thing they needed to hear to keep going. Okay,
Preach.
I'll get off that soapbox.
Preach.
What's one thing you've learned about yourself since hearing yourself on all of this?
Full transparency, we were talking about vulnerability before. This is very squirmy for me to say this. But the more that we have done this, and just the more that I've done my coaching and have sat across from people one-on-one to help them navigate the tough stuff in their lives, I realize more and more that I am the most I've ever been in my life who God has designed me to be. Because this is the furthest I've been. And that's not squirmy to say. The squirmy part is, again, the next voice that tries to come in is, well, that's arrogant. Who do you think you are? People are going to think. And I have to shut that voice down, because that voice is never going to be okay with me being who God has designed me to be. That's the whole point. The enemy wants to oppose that more than anything else, is our identity as God says who we are. And so it's been really interesting to watch myself. It's almost like I'm removed from me and I'm seeing me be comfortable in who God has designed me to be and the abilities that he has given me, and realizing I actually do have something to offer, and what I have to offer makes a difference and it's helpful to other people. And that's incredible. But then again, that other voice wants to come right on the heels of that and tell me all kinds of awful things. And so there's just been this, I'm stronger than I think I am. I'm more in line with God than I sometimes feel that I am. And so those have been really fun things to realize about myself. But then also it feels like, ooh, there's opposition to that. And so you have to be ready to face that too. Well, embrace the good parts, but then realize somebody wants that to go away. And so that's been really interesting and fun and sometimes hard, but worth it.
I like that you shared it the way that you did. When we've had guests on the episode, and you'll have heard me ask questions about those challenging times and how did they get through them, or what those conversations were like with God. I find that there's always that temptation to want to wrap a bow around things. And okay, well, yeah, it was really hard, but then God did this. And sometimes we don't always have that bow. And I think it's important and necessary to share those moments too, where you're, yeah, man, it's still really hard in my life right now, and I don't really know how God is going to redeem that or how he's going to use that. And I'm struggling with A, B, and C. I think we get a lot more of an understanding of what it is to walk out in our faith when we are able to share those moments and be honest about them with each other. So for me, what I've learned about myself is also kind of in line with what you were saying about you're as far in your calling as you've ever been so far. And I feel that way about me too. So episode 1, I'm super nervous about things and life and everything else I was putting together with Misfit. Fast forward to today, I walk a lot more confidently in that. And it's in a healthy space. It's in a healthy mindset. When I listen to some of these episodes, well, for one, I know that I squirrel a lot. And so I can listen to some things and this is Denise, this is the thought that you were trying to finish. Because when I'm saying stuff many times, I started off and in my head, I'm trying to remember to close the loop. So I'm talking, but inside I'm also internally fighting that battle to stay on track with what I was, to flush out my complete thought. So I can notice that when I'm listening back on episodes sometimes, and I'm like, oh, this is where you were trying to go with that. But also I can notice it in my voice, and that I've been getting more confident in how I talk about things and how I've been walking out in whatever. And as we're planning these episodes and what we want to talk about, and for the next 30, 40 episodes that are coming, who knows, guys, we may never stop. We'll be 85 and we'll still like, hey guys, welcome to Prodigal Peas in a pod.
I like your old lady voice. I like it.
I don't think I've actually ever heard an old lady talk like that. So I don't know where I got that from. But anyway, I can see those different areas of me. And then I can also see those areas that still need help. I still need to work on some things. And life can get so busy and you kind of forget about those things. And so when I go back and listen and I've heard that, I'm like, oh yeah, like, did I ever flush that completely out with God? Like, I know I meant to. I remember in that episode, I was like, note to self, talk to God about this later. Like, did I ever get to do that? And so I do learn quite a bit about myself from all of this. And I'm glad that it's been more positive, and that's not to say that there's never any negative talk. I promise you there is so much, and there are some days that I'm just like, am I really doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And like those days still happen, you guys. But you can see a lot of the growth since then, at least for me, because I know who I am, I know where I started and how it's going and all that. But so I do notice that. I've learned that I'm actually pretty good at giving interviews. I didn't expect that one. I really like it. I love asking questions and getting to more things. That's one of the newer things I learned since doing this.
You ask really good questions because there are some people in conversation or even when you're not on a podcast and it's kind of like, well, what else are we going to talk about now? I've never seen you have that experience because you just have really good questions that you want to know about people.
I didn't know that about myself, you guys. I mean, I know I'm a very inquisitive person, but that's been fun to find out.
So since, you and I just love hanging out and talking about ourselves.
I do, though. I'm not going to lie. I have a really good time doing this. Nobody interrupts me. It's just us.
Right. It's great. It's fabulous. So how has doing this, I mean, because, people often ask, that's one thing people often ask me is, did we know each other before doing this? And we did, but we didn't really know each other that well.
Right.
And it was when we were on the trip to Peru that we really got to know each other. And then this just sort of kept things rolling. But I think it's funny that people think we didn't really know each other before starting this. But how has doing this affected our friendship, your faith, things that are outside of us sitting here and recording?
I have a lot of things to say. So I met her parents recently. And we were sitting having a meal and her mom had asked how our friendship started. And maybe it doesn't seem like a strange question to ask or it's very normal, but and I'm like getting choked up right now thinking about it. It meant so much to me because I really don't know. I can't think of a time before where someone has asked me how I became friends with someone, that they would care to know, right? What was the connecting thing there? So that meant a ton to me, that more than just, oh, cool, you guys are friends, it's nice to meet you, but they want to hear about our friendship. And that was awesome, you guys.
Good job, Mom.
Yeah. Shout out to Mom. Nice meeting you. I'll see you again soon. But it has been awesome for me. So we are newer friends. So we really bonded in Peru. But, Brooke didn't know me when I was 7. Brooke didn't know me when I was 13. Yeah. She wasn't there at my quince. You would have loved it, though.
Oh, I would have.
It was beautiful. I need to show you pictures.
Yes, I need to see the dress.
And so it was beautiful.
Well, of course.
Actually, the cake, I think, was better than the dress. We'll get to that in a second. Or I'll just tell you later. So we have this space now where we get to talk about things. And the way that we live our lives now is based on our life experiences and the truths that we believe from that. So through these conversations, we're able to learn so much more about each other that I don't know would have happened otherwise, or maybe at some point, but maybe just later in the game. Yeah. But it's kind of a sped up crash course on learning about each other. And it's been great. For me, it's been awesome because, I've said it before, I didn't really feel like I quite fit into a lot of places. And so meeting Brooke and having that same sense of humor, and we're having a great time, and she's so fired up about God, and it's an intentional, it's not just, oh yeah, I go to church on Sundays and that's it, and we love God. But this is a relationship that you take seriously, and it's been super helpful for you and impactful. Helps me a lot. It helps us both remain aligned to God. And when I have my moments where I have those criticisms that are coming in, or I'm saying something that's very reflective of an insecurity of mine, I have you calling me out on that, and we have those conversations, and it's healing. It's healing. So I think the biggest thing for me has been our friendship. I love our friendship. It's super healing, and I get to have a coach in my corner, which is especially awesome. But yeah, it's been even better for my faith too, because it's almost like, okay, so who I am and my quirkiness and my personality and my jokes or whatever. It's not that anything is bad or, I don't know, not the right Christian way or whatever. No, that it's actually fine, and it's more than fine. It's great, and God loves us as we are, and this is how he made us. And it's something to celebrate and to get that pointed out to where there are things in life, even like accomplishments, or that can be celebrated, and it's okay to be celebrated, and it's not because you're making things all about you. So all of that has been really helpful for me in even doing this. So thank you. Thanks, friend.
Yeah, I feel like our friendship is very much iron sharpening iron. I really do, because, and like I said earlier, I got some quality people in my life, and I've got some friends who I can have those conversations where it's not chit chat. You dive right into so this is what I was talking to God about the other day. And that's the kind of friendship that I have with you. But that was instant with you. And there was the other people in my life who I have those relationships with. I feel there was a build, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it took us a little longer to get to know each other, to trust each other. And that's not necessarily a reflection on those friends. It's a reflection on how my friendships had gone in the past. And so meeting you again, because I'm at my most healed that I've ever been in my life, it was a different experience from the very beginning. But it really does feel like iron sharpening iron. It's strengthening. There's so much tremendous value in being able to share our lives. And again, it doesn't have to be well, so how was your week? There's no, we don't have, there's no on-ramp. It's just boom, deep end of the pool. Here we are. This is the really hard thing that I'm experiencing today.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about it before the podcast.
Yeah.
Or we're going to talk about it right after the podcast. I can't tell you how many times, there have been times where we're like, well, I guess we're not recording today because we're having our own little therapy session.
Yeah.
And both of us, it's not just because you said that you have a coach. Well, yes, because you do that for me too. It's mutual.
Yay. Yay, guys. What is that verse? That's a proverb, right? Iron sharpens iron.
I don't know. I could look it
I
up.
feel like it is.
I'm not great at remembering the addresses.
So what have you learned about me in the process that you didn't know before?
See, I think it's interesting
How really in my head I am, actually.
Well,
how chaotic it is up there. She needs
well,
help.
no, because oh my goodness, I often say it's a party in here, and I feel sad for people who aren't in here with me. So I think it's great that that's the way you are, because I feel like that's another one of those things that we have in common. But I think what was surprising to me was the amount of times that you would say something along the lines of how you weren't feeling confident about something, or you were second guessing something, or you weren't sure, because that is not at all how I see you. And it's not an overconfident thing. It seems like the healing that you and God have pursued, it has sunk in and it has taken root, and you know who he says you are. And so when you talk about things where you're not sure, or you're not comfortable, or lacking in confidence or whatever, I'm just like, wait, what? What are you talking about? Because that's not who I see. And so that's really interesting to me.
That's one thing I probably should have mentioned earlier, and I completely forgot about when I go back and listen to the episodes, because I know how in my head I was on those days of recording and listening back on it. And I see that part of the healing. So the healing takes root, and I'm just kind of, actually, it's not that I don't know. It's not that I can't say something or I can't help. I'm actually very capable, and I've learned a ton, and it's going to help somebody. And I see the lie for what it is versus before, where I'm just hoping it's not true. I'm getting that clarity where it's, why were you even freaking out? It's a great episode. You guys had some great content to talk about, whatever. So thanks for saying that. That's one of the things I was noticing too, that I feel like I'm getting better at.
Nice.
Yeah. Thanks. I think for me, what I've learned about you in all of this, and more than just the podcast, is how similar our likes are for things that you wouldn't think. And so we have a lot of those moments where it's you too. Oh my gosh. The first one that comes to mind is the mint chocolate chip ice cream. I get a lot of heat for that sometimes.
Me
like,
too.
Oh, just need toothpaste, Yeah. And so no matter how
if toothpaste tasted like mint chocolate chip ice cream, I would not need a dentist. I would have the healthiest teeth ever, because I would just be constantly brushing my teeth. So I don't know why people think toothpaste and mint chocolate chip ice cream taste the same, because they are not the same.
It's so delicious, you guys.
It is very delicious. It's very refreshing and chocolatey. What more could you want?
Yeah. And so I think for me, it's definitely those things, those little small moments where it's like, hey, me too. And it's just cool, because you don't always find that. You might find one other person and it's like, oh yeah, we have that one thing in common. That's great. But I mean, it just felt like there's always something new that's coming up, and it's like, oh yeah, I did that too growing up, or I felt the same way about that. And so, yeah.
I'm really curious now how many comments we're going to get about mint chocolate chip ice cream. Watch that be the thing that people comment on.
That's going to be the thing everyone gets on.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot's been going on in life, and we're always moving forward. So Brooke recently preached on Sunday morning. And that was incredible. It was her first time on stage, and I had to be loud about my support. I was in the front row with friends, and I got disposable plates. I wrote 10s on them, so when she was done, I was giving the rating. And I'm just,
right up front, first row, right up front.
And I'm just so proud of her. And I just wanted you to share about that, because our friends should know about that if they didn't already. How did you feel? How do you feel now?
It was so fun. This was really interesting to me. A couple of different people before I went up asked, how are you doing? Are you nervous? And I wasn't nervous. And I kept expecting the nervous feeling to come. Mm-hmm. Because in the past, anytime I've done anything, and it's not like a paralyzing nervous, it's just you sort of a little jittery, the adrenaline's pumping. And I kept waiting for that to happen. I kept thinking, okay, well, maybe when there's X amount of time left, maybe when it's this moment, maybe right before I walk up. And I kept waiting for it, and I didn't feel nervous. And that was surprising, but in a really good way. And again, I think it helped that God and I talked a lot about what it was that I was going to communicate. It's not the first time I've ever spoken to a large group. I've done things where, like podcasts, or our pastor has done a radio show and he's invited me to be a guest on there. We do a conference at our church and I speak at that. And so I've had experience with it. And one of the really cool things that God said to me about it was, you're doing what I'm asking you to do. You're just doing it in a different room. So it was like, this is what I've made you to do. You're doing it. It's just a different room. You've just not done it in this room before. And that was a really cool moment. And that, when he said that to me, that definitely got me a little teary, because I feel like it was one of those moments where you feel like he sees you, mm-hmm. and he knows exactly how to speak to you. But it was so much fun. And I really hope that it's not just a one and only. I would love to do it again.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there would be more times for sure.
But your plates, your 10s, you in the front row with multiple 10s.
I even got Mom to do it, you guys.
That was fun. That was a good moment.
I was distributing plates.
So you also have some new things going on in your life. So you want to tell our friends about things in your life?
Sure. We'll share a couple. So if you follow me on the social medias, you probably saw that I've adopted a highway. And I am super excited about it to clean up trash. I know it doesn't sound exciting, but I am excited. And I got the idea because I have a Jeep. And if you know anything about that, Jeepers have their personality and they have their own reputation. One of the Jeep clubs that I am a part of or know had recently adopted one earlier this year. And I went out to do a cleanup event with them. And I just really liked it. It's giving back to the community. You're making that impact directly. And so I was asking a ton of questions like, how does that work? And I guess after a certain amount of cleanups, you get your name put up on a sign. And they were explaining it to me. It's free and who to get in touch with. And so I ended up, I was praying on it. I was thinking it could be really good to do for Misfit. And I moved forward with it. I got it. It's official. It's in Herndon, and it's near one of the new metro stations, Innovation Station. But anyway, so I'm really excited about that, and I'm going to be creating cleanup events. So hopefully you'll let me know what days are probably better for you during the week, because I don't mind doing it on a Monday morning, but some people have jobs during the day and they can't do that. So maybe weekend is better for them. And I'm open to that. So anyway, it's just the start of a lot of other things that I want to do with Misfit. When I had the cupcake business, it was really important to me to give back to my direct community as well. So I had worked with a ton of different nonprofits in Loudoun County, Virginia specifically. And so I'm going to carry that over and do the same thing with Misfit. So the highway is awesome, but it's only the start. There are going to be other nonprofits that I'll want to be teaming up with and host volunteer events for us together as the Misfits crew. And I've mentioned before that jail ministry is one of the areas that I'm involved in, probably the most of a ministry that I'm involved in, which, by the way, if you guys know of any other jail ministries or prison ministries or just organizations that work in the same area, throw them my way. I want to grow that network because, one, I'm just so all in and passionate about it, but two, also I am transitioning into a co-lead role with another person on our ministry team. So I'm going to be doing that going for, well, it's a transition, so it's not official yet. Our current lead is going to be retiring next year, next May, and he will be retiring on his 80th birthday.
Wow.
And yeah, and those are some really big shoes to fill, you guys. Like, he's poured his whole heart and life into this, and he had been doing it for years before he started at this church's ministry for it. And so I have made quite a few connections since then with the curriculum that we work with. And so I have so many ideas for things that I want to do, but also to preserve what we have and to make sure that it's solid to keep going and carry on with the current serving roles that we're in. So I've been praying a ton on it. And it's a little bit scary because I don't want to let anybody down. I don't want to tank the ministry. So we're just praying for all those negative thoughts from the enemy to not make its way and take root in me. So I'm really excited about it. So the other teammate that I'm going to be doing that with is Jordan. So
Hi, Jordan.
Hi, Jordan. I don't know if he listens to this, but I'll tell him that
He should.
we gave him a shout out just in case. He can listen to this one.
Listen to it, Jordan.
So yeah, so that's a big thing. You'll probably see a ton more being posted about that. But that's really what started my drive for Misfit anyway. I didn't start making any curriculum until I was a spiritual mentor for a jail ministry. Those are probably like the two bigger things I have going on right now.
Very exciting.
Yay!
So we said before, this is episode 14. And while that might not seem like a lot to some people, it's a lot to us. And we're pretty psyched about it. But we also know, or we hope, that we'll get to just do this until there's who knows how many episodes. So what are your thoughts on what it looks like when we're 30 episodes in, when we're 50 episodes in? What is your vision? What are you hoping for?
I think for sure I definitely want a backdrop that has our logo on it.
Yes!
Guys.
But those things cost money.
Yeah. You can Venmo us if you want to help us get to that. Please and thank you.
Peas and thank you.
Peas and thank you. It would be cool to get when we get to that point, right? A following base large enough that would want to do something like a live Q&A together, or even recording from somewhere else where, yeah, we would have other people interacting with us in the meantime. Also, I think growing our guest list. Yeah. I'm really excited for that, to see who else is going to come on the show. So I know that's something we were thinking about. Do we want to do it? Do we not? And it's for sure now definite, you know? And so now it's just, we want to make sure we're curating that to the best that we can, how that needs to be, or how that can be most beneficial for our listeners. All 5 of you. JK, maybe there's a little bit more. What else do I want for us? Ooh, merch.
Yes. Which we do have.
Yeah.
Right now we just have stickers. And I'm not saying just like they're not important. It's just that's all we have right now. But eventually, if you'll notice, this lovely t-shirt. And again, if you're not watching, I'm telling you, if you're only listening, you're missing out on some really good stuff. But yes, to have t-shirts and stickers, and I don't know, wouldn't it be fun if we could get little stuff, like little stuffy versions of the peas?
Yes, like peas. Yes, I want stuffed peas.
And if anybody is really good at knitting or crocheting, if you could recreate those peas hats, that would be fabulous.
So fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I would really love to be able to have merch. I think that would be so fun.
And you know, what if we went touring sometime?
Ooh.
Right? That's huge.
Where are we going to go?
So right now I'm thinking the twins, since we told them.
That's right.
We voluntold them that we were going to be touring with them.
Yeah.
So maybe that can be like the side gig. Like also BT Dubs will have a session for a podcast episode.
Fabulous. I love all of these ideas.
Right?
Yeah.
We're only just getting started, you guys. I'm really excited about the other stuff that we'll get into in conversations for other episodes. Stay tuned.
And if you have ideas that you would like to hear us talk about, and it can be anything from real serious and in-depth to just why we like mint chocolate chip ice cream, but we would like to know what it is that you're interested in, so you feel like you really are part of the pod, because you are part of the pod, but we want to make sure that you feel like you are, because there's so much room for all of you in the pod.
There's so much. So yeah, even if there's concepts that we've brought up that maybe is a little bit foreign of a concept to you, and you just want us to flush that out a little bit more, share that. Post it in the comments, you guys. We read them.
We do.
You don't have any dreams for our podcast?
Well, not surprising. A lot of mine are similar to what you want. I want to bring on more guests, merch. I've been thinking about merch since you showed me the first drawing of those peas.
I love this logo. It's going to be on all the things. I want hats.
Denise designed that. That's all Denise's creativity.
I am really proud of this one, you guys. I'm gonna accept that one.
They're adorable. Good for you. Nice job.
Thanks.
So if you've noticed, again, if you're not watching, you are missing out. So for those of you that are watching, if you've noticed, I don't know if you have, but there's a little frog sitting right here. He's been here the whole time, and he does more than just sit.
Release the frog.
If you did not catch the episode where Mike Haynes was our guest, you need to go back and watch it, because I'm not telling you any more information about this frog or the idea of release the frog, because you need to go back and you need to watch that episode. You will love it.
For real, guys, you need to go back and listen to it, because we're going to start using that phrase a lot more often. Release the frog. So definitely go back and listen to that episode. I think it's mostly nonsense, but it's a great time. And I think you'll really enjoy the nonsense. We really enjoyed having him on the podcast. So there's a lot of good stuff there too.
Mm-hmm. And if you have not stuck around on the episodes all the way to the very end, if you've heard the amazing outro music from Nathan and Daryl, you need to stick around. And it can be visual or just the audio, either way, but listen all the way to the very end of each episode, because there's a little nugget at the end of every episode that we've done. And so if you're just catching this now, or you've listened or watched the whole time, but you've not listened and watched all the way to the end, you are absolutely going to want to go back and find those little spots right as soon as the outro music ends. There's a little something for you every episode.
It's like the Marvel movies, guys. This is our little gift to you guys for sticking with us. Not just episode 1, but all the way through to the very last second of recording for each episode.
Mm-hmm. You won't be sorry.
So yeah, guys, thanks for listening this far. We've loved having you. We love getting feedback from you guys, messages, whatever it is. We're really enjoying doing this. We're really grateful for the opportunity to get to do this, and just seeing how it affects you guys, hopefully in a positive way. Hopefully in a helpful way. But yeah, leave your notes in the comments. Let us know what you've been enjoying, and yeah, anything you want to share, really.
Yeah. And thanks for hanging out in the pod. We are Prodigal Peas in a Pod. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Prodigal Peas in a Pod. Not sure how you found us today, but be sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on any other episodes. And you can find us on most podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Amazon Music.
If anything we said today resonated or got you thinking deeper, share it with a friend, leave a comment, or shoot us an email over at prodigalpeas@gmail.com. If you didn't know, this podcast is a merge of both of our brands. I am Misfit of Creation, a soul food ministry. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, and on YouTube. I also have an Etsy shop where you can find downloadable tools that will help you grow in your walk with God. And that is misfitofcreation.etsy.com. And if you're looking to be a monthly supporter, you can also find me on Patreon.
My mental and emotional health coaching practice is Blueprint Heart and Mind Coaching, and you can find me at blueprintheartandmind.com, where I have a blog, and you can also make an appointment with me. And you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
I think I get it now. I need to be myself, because a copycat can only do so well. In love with everything that makes me who I am. Don't need a backup plan. I hope they understand that I'm doing better today. I got me a mission, I got some fruition. You down to stay out the way. Can't seek validation from people who hating. I got my mentality straight. Shout out to God, I've been keeping the first. He been working and paving the way. And now I can guarantee you that's the way to live. Way to live. Promise that's the way to live. Way to live. Promise that's the way to live.
I feel like there's a lot of space above our heads. Is that usually how it is? I guess so, because that's where I
think
put.
my chair is taller than yours too, though.
Really?
Oh yeah, now you're like as tall as me. Look at that.
Am I usually shorter than you?
No, I think in the podcast, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm paying attention to
Look at this eye level. I'm almost looking up to you.
Well,